ladies and gentlemen, as I promised. Now, we've been doing this podcast for a few years now, and you're always looking for people to interview, but with everything that's been going on in my life and also my wife's life, I thought it was time that we interview each other. Who better? You guys have been very inquisitive about our weight loss journey. So again, first let me say that we appreciate all the love and support that you guys have shown us over the past year and a half with everything we've been going through. We truly appreciate it. But you guys who have listened to the podcast know that Kymberly Nichole has quite the story. So I thought it would be interesting to talk to her. And her story basically ties into the weight loss journey. So we're going to kind of let's start from where we are. Let's start from the beginning. All right, let's start with this one. This woman, the whole time we dated, the whole time we've been married, did not tell me her actual weight until after weight loss surgery. She did not want me to know her highest weight. So let's start there and then we'll work our way back.
Wow. What a way to get going.
Of course.
Just lay it all out there.
You put it out there already.
Yes.
So, what was your highest weight?
My highest weight was 468 pounds. Very close to 500 pounds.
Okay.
I wish y'all could see his face. Every time I say that, he doesn't believe it.
I don't believe it. I think my wife is quite sexy. I always have, always will.
Listen, you can be sexy at 500 pounds.
No. I'm just saying because the way I look at you and the way that I see you probably didn't allow me at that time to see.
What do they say? Rose-colored glasses?
Call it what you want.
Yes. You had rose-colored glasses on.
All right. So with that being said, 468 pounds. Let's start at the beginning. When would you say your weight issue started?
Oh, preteen, I would say.
Did you go through like a major growth spurt or what
so at 16, 17, I was a solid size 18. Okay. Again, when you looked at me, like you said, nobody knew I was almost 500 pounds. I carry my weight very differently. I carry my weight all in my behind. I think it was 400 pounds in my behind.
Stop it.
So, yes, I carry my weight low.
Okay.
So, it's hard to tell what I am. So, at 17, I was a size 18. I was solid. As a matter of fact, I remember going shopping with my mom at Fashion Bug, old school store. And I was in the plus section, and the lady came up to help me, and she says, "What size are you looking for?" And I said 18, and she was like, "No." She was like, "Whoa, you are solid. You're like a brick house. I wouldn't have guessed you were a size 18. So from there, my weight went up. I was a pretty small kid. I had scarlet fever when I was 8 years old and lost, I had no weight to lose, but still lost a lot of weight and looked emaciated. Like I looked like something was going on. Mm-hmm. So I was very thin most of my young life. Okay. But then, you get your periods, preteens, and the weight just starts to gradually come on to where I'm 17 years old, and I'm a size 18, and I'm well over 200 pounds. Okay. Well over. I probably was over 300 pounds at that 17? Point.
17? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did your weight affect you at that age? Was it
I didn't think about it. I
asked that question because I always remember you telling the story of your mother telling you were too big to play with.
So I was young when she did that. So I was tall. Okay. I've always been taller than most kids my age.
Okay, so back then it wasn't really a weight thing.
I was chubby, but so was many kids at 4 years old, but I was tall. Okay. So, she made a comment, about me being too big to play with the other kids. I don't know if it was a concern for them or a concern for me. I don't know, but I remember it and it kind of stuck with me. Mm-hmm. But when I got older, high school, my good friends were all around my size shape. So I didn't really think about it. I mean, I was captain of my cheerleading squad. So I didn't think anything of it.
So there was no real issues like with being picked on, bullying.
No, I never got picked on. I wasn't bullied. Like I said, my core friends we were all about the same size, same shape.
Okay.
I had grown up with them. I went to school, elementary, middle, high school with pretty much the same folks. So they knew me from day one. I felt there was a little bit, like with boys. I mean, I wasn't allowed to date. And my dad was very strict about that. And, boys were scared of my dad. So part of it was...
They didn't want to date you.
Well, it was partly it was because I couldn't date and they were scared of him. But I also felt like part of it may have been my size. Because I would see, like, the boys that I liked, who they liked didn't look like me. Okay. So I internalized that a lot. So when I got 17, 18 years old, older men started looking at me. Because I looked like a grown woman.
Damn pedophiles. No, but okay, yeah. So you wouldn't say your childhood or anything happened in your childhood that affected your weight or anything of that nature?
No, I just think it was just, I grew up in a time where it's you eat what you're served. Mm-hmm. And you eat everything on your plate. Going back and thinking about it now.
And your mother can cook.
Yes. But going back and thinking about it now, I do know it wasn't her cooking or her telling me I had to clean my plate. Because once I got old enough to get snacks, buy my own snacks or... she had snacks in the house, but it wasn't like lock and key. I could get it. Yeah. I struggled a lot. My parents did not get along for many, 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 many years of my life. Mm. So I struggled with that. I struggled with feeling like I was the cause of their problems. And really, the only thing I could control in my life was what I put in my mouth. Because I was the child. Mm. And I was raised by parents who you stayed in a child's place. You spoke when spoken to, and you don't have an opinion because you ain't grown. So what I could control, I did control, and that was I just want to eat. That made me feel better about what they were going through.
Okay, so let me kind of jump forward a little bit. You always told me you've been an emotional eater. Mm-hmm. So would that kind of have been the start of it?
Yeah, scared because I didn't know from one day to the next were my parents getting divorced. Mm-hmm. I didn't know, was there going to be a fight? Was it, and not a physical, but an argument? Was there going to be yelling? And I was on emotional edge all the time.
So that would probably be the kind of like the initial part that got you as you went into adulthood and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Snacks were my friend. Seconds was my friend.
All right, because I don't think a lot of people know. We might have talked about this on the show. You were raised Seventh-day Adventist, so for most of your life you were vegetarian.
Yes, so raised Seventh-day Adventist, vegetarian, have never had pork.
She's never had bacon.
Never. However, back in those days, though, there was the canned vegetarian meats, mm-hmm. high sodium, high carbs, nobody really thought about that stuff back then. Yeah. So there were staples in the Adventist diet that, while they were vegetarian, probably weren't the healthiest. Okay. Pasta, like I said, the canned meat, the frozen meat, the imitation meats, were not the best. Yeah. So,
it's crazy thinking back on it now when you said high in sodium. I can think back on that stuff being that, my aunt was a Seventh-day Adventist, so I was very familiar with those meals, and I could taste it now, like the salt and the sodium and that stuff. So
yep. So high in sodium, high in carbs. So you get used to that, and that's what I know. That's what I knew. And again, like I said, you ate what you were served, or you didn't eat. There was no, I'm going to fix you this because you don't like that. It was, this one I'm making for dinner.
Are you going to bed hungry?
Yeah. Breakfast. My mom is Southern.
Mm-hmm.
My mom cooks meals. She cooks breakfast, lunch, dinner. So that's what I grew up on. And while I may have had the portion that she served, I was usually always hungrier and wanted some more. So, but yeah, it was comfort. It made me feel better.
So let me ask you this: you have a younger sister who has always been
100 pounds soaking wet.
Can eat whatever she wants to.
Rail thin.
Did the dynamic between you being bigger and her being smaller, was that ever an issue?
No. My sister was born premature.
Okay.
She's always been small. But I think, and I when I think about it, I think that became her identity. She was always small. Little Michelle. She was born little. She's always been little.
Still little.
She can eat whatever she wants and don't gain a pound. We just had a different genetic makeup. So I never felt jealous or envious of her, actually.
No, not even that. It was more, I've seen people who have, it was the same thing for me. I've always been bigger. My sister's been smaller. But I've had friends that were kind of in the same dynamic, but they felt like they might have been treated differently, or they noticed differences in the way other people outside of the family may have treated them because of their size difference and things.
No,
of that
I don't remember any of that, and I don't think my parents would have had it. No. They wouldn't have tolerated it. They, that wasn't one thing that they would have done or they would have tolerated anybody doing to us.
Okay, so you graduate from high school, you go off to college. Thinking back on it, can you kind of pinpoint when you thought maybe your weight was becoming an issue, or that didn't happen until later on?
No, it happened after college. It happened after, where I gained more weight. Now, I gained the freshman 45. Like, I gained a lot of weight. And it was because I went to a southern school.
Yeah.
I went to Tennessee State. There was not a lot of options for vegetarians at that time in the South, in the cafeteria, and you're on financial aid and you have to eat in the cafeteria. So I remember always they had a Pizza Hut, a Burger King, 2 other like fast food places, and I remember whenever I had money, that's where I would eat. Pasta was cheap. Pasta sauce was cheap. I ate that a lot.
So carbs are not your friend.
Lord. My family's in Nashville. My grandmother cooks. When I say my grandmother cooked, when I was a baby, my grandmother, 2 weeks old, fed me catfish and grits. My parents got hives when I was born and could not take care of me for the first few weeks of my life. So I was with my grandparents. And my mom tells the story that she called to check on me, and my grandmother said I was eating, and she said, "Oh, what's she eating?" And she said catfish and grits, and my mother was like, no, she's an infant. You can't give her that. And we're not raising her to eat that. Like, what is happening? So when I was in college, I lived very close. I was close to my grandmother. I stayed on campus. I was at her house most of the time. And she cooked. She was the grandmother. You come home and she said, "Baby, you looking thin. I need to feed you." And I was big as a house. But I ate because that's my grandmama, and I'm going to eat because she is good. And I'm not going to hurt her feelings. I'm going to eat. So, but I gained the weight over years. Slow progression. When I tell you, when I got on that scale and it said 468, I was astonished. Because I hadn't weighed myself in I don't know how long. And when I saw that number, I was like, no. Yeah.
Do you think that mindset that a lot of older people have, like you said, you felt at that time you had put on a lot of weight, but grandma's telling you, "Baby,
No,
you're
baby.
looking thin." Mm-hmm. And I've heard that from older people in my life as well. Like, are you eating? Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize how that mindset can affect people, especially at a young age. I think a lot of us hold our grandparents in high regard.
And you don't want to disrespect them, and you don't want to hurt their feelings. I would never have told her No, I'm not going to eat. What? And no, I'm not going to take no food with me. Police. Lord, that's blasphemous.
All right, so we get it. Let's jump around a little bit. So
I think the bulk it really started when I got married the first time.
we're gonna get okay. You brought it up.
Yep.
So let's go there.
After college, I met my first husband. I was big. He loved me. I thought at that time I hadn't dated much. I did date in college a little bit, but not much. That just wasn't my thing. I wasn't a serial dater. So when I met him, we dated. I liked him.
Any confidence issues or anything at that?
I think I was.
Okay.
Yeah, because I felt like when he asked me to marry him, I was like, okay. Nobody else is gonna ask. Nobody else is asking me out for a date. So hell yeah, I want to get married. It never was my dream. I wasn't that girl that grew up thinking I need this big wedding and I need to have children. I wasn't that. Honestly, I was like, it's whatever. If I have kids, great. If I don't, that's great too. So when he asked me, I was like, sure. I love him. He loves me. Nobody else is knocking down my door. So let's do it.
Okay. So you get married, but at the actual wedding, you're pregnant already. Okay.
Yep. So we got engaged. It took a year and a half to get the spot where I wanted to get married. So we booked it and had to wait till the date was available. And I got pregnant 3 months before the wedding.
Okay.
So sick, morning sickness, everything. Day of the wedding, throwing up outside my daddy's house. So I'm 3 months pregnant. So of course I've been eating. So I'm gaining more weight. And get married. Baby, I gained weight, like 90 pounds with her.
Okay.
And had her and, lost about 45 pounds. But wasn't really trying. I mean, I was breastfeeding, so you lose weight with that. But I really wasn't dieting or exercising, trying to lose any weight. And I was just where I was.
Were you even in the mindset of thinking at that particular time, like, oh my God, I put on a lot of weight?
No, because I thought, I just had a baby. You have these excuses. Mm-hmm. When I was pregnant and I was eating, I was like, the baby's hungry. Nah, bitch, you hungry. It ain't that child that's the size of a lemon. Like, you're hungry. So I had excuses for it. I was hungry because I was pregnant. Then I had the baby. I got to keep my strength up because I'm breastfeeding, so I got to eat. So there's that excuse.
Okay. So, again, people who listen to the podcast know the turmoil that you went through in your first marriage.
Yes.
So
depression.
And I'm only touching on this to tie it into the weight journey.
Yeah.
The drama from what point after you got married did things start to kind of...
2 years.
So 2 years. So the first 2 years you would say were okay.
Okay. Not great, but okay.
Yeah.
But shit hit the fan when Taylor was 2.
Okay. So at that time, during the 2 years where things are okay, are you like still emotionally eating, or things just... We argued. It was my childhood all over again. But it was me. He and I were arguing and screaming at each other almost every day. So it was the same. So yeah, I was. So you're basically living in this kind of circle of
yes, it wouldn't stop. Yes, so I was eating. I would go pick up dinner. So let's say going to pick up something and grab a large fry on the way home to eat it in a strawberry shake, and eat that in the car on the way home to eat dinner that I just picked up. Because I was depressed. I was unhappy. We were struggling financially. So again, back to what I can control. And it's what I like and what makes me feel good. And oh my goodness, them fries taste so good. Oh my goodness, them fries dipped in that Frosty from Wendy's is heaven. And I feel good in that moment.
And don't forget the apple pies from
Checkers. Them apple pies from Checkers. Jesus! Jesus. Yes. So 2 of them. I would have had a large fry, a Frosty, and 2 apple pies before I got home. And then I ate the meal that I bought when I got home.
Okay, so this goes on for a couple of years. And
Yes.
again, 2 years into the marriage, the lid explodes off of it. And we're going to stop it right here, and then we're going to come back for part 2 leading into that. So you guys hang with us.